It's simple. People who taught you in kindergarten are not the same people who are going to teach you in middle school and high school. So you need to be able to find the right teachers at the right time.
Somewhere between experimenting with AI and a fundamentally different company, there's a breakthrough. The founders on this show got there faster than most people think possible. This show finds out how. Each week, one founder, one honest story. What broke, what they built, and what their company looks like now. If you're ready to make the breakthrough faster than you thought possible, you're in the right place. This is Breakthrough AI Operators. Here's your host, Roland Sieblink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breakthrough AI Operators, the show where we talk with founders who have made AI structurally native to how their company works and how they serve their customers. Not tool adoption, not productivity wins, but actual operating model breakthroughs. Today's guest, I'm very happy to say, runs an AI native contract lifecycle management company built for legal teams that need speed without surrendering control. The company has processed over 1 million contracts, raised a $54 million Series B, and recently doubled down on strictly on-device AI so that sensitive documents never have to leave the laptop. With that, everyone meet my guest, Shashank Bijapur, the CEO and co-founder of SpotDraft. Welcome to the show, Shashank.
Thank you, Roland, and thank you for having me over.
Of course. It's a big honor. This is one of the big success stories in legal tech, of course. So, Shashank, let's dive right in. You're not selling AI features, you're selling contract operations with memory, as I understand it. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We are helping lawyers automate a lot of their mundane legal work.
Excellent. Do lawyers all consider their work mundane?
Well, if you have to review a NDA on a Friday night, week after week, then it does start getting mundane. And when you have the sales guy coming to you every week and be like, can we sign this contract which has Somalia as the governing law? It does begin to start getting a little mundane.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about the origin story, Shashank. Were you already in legal or in legal tech before? How did this all get started?
Yeah, well, I like to call myself as a recovering lawyer. So after my master's at Harvard Law, I used to be a lawyer at a firm called White & Case in New York.
Okay.
And that's where I met my co-founder and CTO, Madhav, who used to be at Google in New York. And at some point, it was New Year's Eve, and I was sitting and reviewing contracts and running due diligence reports.
Even more painful.
Yeah. I saw the ball drop and I was thinking, what am I doing right now? And I looked at, I opened New York Times and I read about this guy called Elon Musk who was building a self-driving car. So in my head, I'm going, wait, cars are driving themselves and I'm still copying, pasting words on a contract. Something had to change. So I went around looking, what are the different tools that people use? And there was some amount of automation that happened in pretty much every single department. But legal was, still in the Jurassic era. And that's where the idea of SpotDraft came back.
Okay, very good. And around which New Year's Eve was that, if I may ask?
Yeah, so it was in 2017. So that's when I came back. Madhav and I came back to start SpotDraft. But then the next 2 years, we were still trying to figure out what we were doing, how we were doing, and if we were doing the right thing before we landed at where we are right now.
And this was way before generative AI became all the buzz, right? Because ChatGPT only came out end of 2022, as I recall. So what were you working with before? Was there even enough technology around to be able to entertain that hypothesis?
Yeah, so our original hypothesis was the fact that lawyers spend a lot of time redlining on contracts. If we can automate that, that'd be great. So we used a bunch of machine learning and BERT, which was the technology then, to train contracts to help analyze them and tell you the good, bad, and ugly. What we realized very quickly is that there isn't a lot of training data for this. You would have to, if it's called a confidentiality agreement, it's not coming to your inbox to get trained. So you're having to train on fake data, on invented data, which is not the real world. So your accuracy is as good as a coin toss. So
Mm-hmm.
we said, is there a better way to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Where do lawyers live? They live in Word documents, and that's where
Yes.
they edit. Cool. But we can't ask them to label stuff. Let's give them tools so that the contract review becomes faster.
Mm.
Okay. So then somebody asked us, how does it come for contract review? And we said, well, that's called a workflow. Okay. Where does it get stored? Well, that's called a repository. Then we took
Mm-hmm.
2 steps back and we said, what is this animal called? And they said it's called a contract lifecycle management platform. And
Yeah.
that's how we landed up building the CLM so that we could train the data to help contract analysis happen. AI isn't really an afterthought for us. We were built around the fact that um, contracts need to be reviewed faster.
Okay. And that makes you very different, I think, from all the other legal management platforms, contract management platforms that were quite prevalent in the SaaS era, right? When SaaS companies were so, fashionable.
It does make it very different, and it also makes it problematic because you don't look like anything else that's out there.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Okay.
if the State of the Union is a cycle, nobody wants a taxi for anything else. Like they're comparing you against what's there. So in some ways, we had to kind of degrade our existing technology to meet what was there, because
Mm-hmm.
what we were trying to build in some ways, for the lack of a better term, was ahead of its time.
Yeah, exactly. So getting the timing right is so important, right? It's sometimes you can just be. I think it's my favorite management philosopher, Vladimir Lenin, that said you can only be 1 street length ahead of the crowd as a leader, because if you're 2 street lengths ahead, they cannot see you turn the street, and then you'll lose them, right? So it's
Absolutely.
exactly. So tell me, how did this company grow?
So we've pretty much doubled in size in every way for the last
Mm-hmm.
5-6 years in a row.
Wow.
Whether it's revenue, number of customers,
Mm-hmm.
number of people, it's been double or more. So we were founded in 2017. 18 was the first line of code.
Mm-hmm.
19 December was when we realized, man, this stuff doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
This accuracy isn't good enough. Um, 2020 January was when we decided to make the pivot to the CLM.
I see.
And 3 months after that was COVID. So
Yes, I
that's
remember.
yeah. And it kind of was a blessing for us, because that was the time when people realized that um, contracting could not be done where I could tap on somebody's shoulder and be like, hey, can you take a look at this contract, or what's happening? They needed to build workflows, processes, audit trails. Yes.
You already mentioned your go-to-market a little bit, and how in the beginning it was quite challenging to be seen outside of the category that people knew, right? So what have you learned about your go-to-market?
Yeah, I think the first big learning is taking a step back. As a lawyer, that need to be perfect was always there. So we were always in product mode. We never thought GTM. We thought we had built the greatest technology available to mankind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter of time that people would just come searching and find out. So um, it wasn't until almost 3 years that we hired somebody in sales and
Mm-hmm.
in marketing. All of that was um, stuff that we didn't think about, and we just kept building product and iterating on product and taking feedback from customers.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas GTM should have been the first function that we should have attacked. That said, our GTM is predominantly it's what we call as all bound. So essentially, we're direct to market, direct to consumers. Um, we do a lot of social selling, we do a lot of value selling, and
Mm-hmm.
we do a lot of proof selling.
Yeah.
Um, that's our predominant way of attracting the market. It's a small set of lawyers, so you need to go and just um, go and educate them and build brand in that space. That's what kind of works for us.
Mm.
We truly believe, like, I'm not building this merely because I want to take make money from it. Like, for me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really passionate about how contracts are done. and how inefficient they are, and just
Mhm.
talking to people about it is a great way to sell.
So how do you actually drag a traditional lawyer by their hair out of their word? Like it's almost like the same with dragging an accountant out of their Excel, right? That must be very hard.
Yeah, I think so. Early days, that was the problem where we would have to tell people on why CLM
Mm-hmm.
or why technology at all, for that matter. I think we've moved ahead from that phase, and now today the
Mm-hmm.
question is which technology, and educating them on what kind of technology does uh, the thing that they need. For example, a Claude or a GPT is probably a threat to every business out there. So everybody's asking, oh well, I can use Claude or GPT to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now we need to go and educate the customer on, yes, there are certain things that Claude can do way better than anybody else in the universe, but there are certain things that you need as basic pipeline and plumbing to make that even effective. So
Can we delve in
it,
and dive a little bit? Because I think a lot of AI founders struggle exactly with that question, right? Like, how do you differentiate from the generic category leaders platforms, Claude and ChatGPT, Gemini to some degree, and get people to actually pay for a more verticalized solution?
yeah, I think so. Um, okay, large language models
Mm-hmm.
is what power AI. Okay,
Yeah.
language being the operative word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, after Shakespeare, what is the most difficult language that you can read? It's that damn contract.
Love it.
Okay,
That's a great quote.
it is it is the only type of language in any business that requires you to go to law school, pass the bar, and be eligible to write that language. Anybody can write code, anybody can write a PRD, anybody can write a tweet, but can anybody opine on law? No. Right? So
Yeah,
that
it's
does
even
require a
forbidden in many
specialized,
cases, right?
yeah, correct. So you need to have a specialized set of tools to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, second thing is it's also the only kind of language that costs $1,400 an hour in the real world to solve.
Mm-hmm.
And every dollar that's coming out of any business, in or out, is because somebody signed a piece of paper. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you need to get this done right. You need to get this done on time. And a horizontal solution will not cut it. If
Mm-hmm.
in the real world you require a specialized person to do it, then you require some specialized tooling to make that happen. So
Mm-hmm.
we are the system of record that tells
Mm-hmm.
you what you've done, how you've behaved, what is acceptable and not acceptable, and then take that AI to derive that knowledge.
How closely related is this to your decision to start processing on local machines, right? So on not in the cloud anymore. Can you tell us more about that? Because that's a bit of a different pattern than what I see most other companies do.
Yeah, this was an intentional partnership that we did with Qualcomm.
Yeah.
One thing that we kept hearing from people over and over again, the objection is, where is my data going? Is it
Mm-hmm.
safe? Who's looking at it? Are you training it? Is it going to an LLM? Or my industry does not allow me to give data to LLM. So
Mm-hmm.
let's look at pharma. Let's look at defense. These are sectors where they may not be as comfortable even with a zero data retention policy to send
Of
something to the
course.
LLM.
Mm-hmm.
So for those cases, we said, what if there was a way that you could process contracts on the device without it
Mm-hmm.
ever leaving? So we are the
Mm-hmm.
only CLM today, or actually the first CLM ever, to have the ability to take a contract and do that analysis on the device on airplane mode with zero data leaving the platform, which means you can choose the contracts that need that you can
Mm-hmm.
send to an LLM versus choose the ones that remain on device.
So it's a dual strategy, right? You still support the cloud version, but it's for those specific, very confidential and industry protected cases that you actually offer this as an alternative.
Correct. That's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the partnerships with Qualcomm? I mean, of course, don't share anything you wouldn't want public, but at the same time, I'm just interested uh, on behalf of so many other founders. They're always exploring partnerships and how to make them work. So I'd love to hear that story a little bit.
Yeah. So this was interesting where um, it was in an event that we met someone from Qualcomm who said,
Mm-hmm.
they asked us what we were doing, and we said, "This is what we do." And they were like, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
look, this is one of those segments that there's a lot of demand for on-device AI. We are coming up with this new chip, and we're looking to partner with companies that can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what can you do?" So, usually with larger companies, the thing tends to be that you end up doing a lot of talking, but the action doesn't happen. But here we were 2 weeks later with two of the unreleased chips on a laptop for us to build our models and test them on.
So tell me a little bit more about you already mentioned doubling the company in size in almost every aspect in the last 4 or 5 years in a row, right? So that in itself is a very challenging journey, right? What has been some of the learnings that you, as the founder CEO, have had to find yourself in, go through, however you want to voice it, about how to manage a company differently when it grows so fast?
So I think the first thing is, if you're in the early stages of starting a company, and if I had to give advice to myself about 8 years ago, I would say that, Shashank, remember, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Be prepped for it and be ready for what's coming. That's one. Second is, I think it's people above everyone else. If you surround yourself and have the ability to attract the right talent,
Mm-hmm.
um, you can do wonders. And it's the right
Mm-hmm.
talent at the right time. It's knowing when to hire the right person and when it's time to tell that, hey, look, we've built the foundation story. You love doing foundation. Why don't you move on and do what you love? And getting the new right leaders at the right time. So it's not just identifying the right talent, but also ensuring that talent continues to remain throughout the journey of the company. I mean, it's simple. People who taught you in kindergarten are not the same people who are going to teach you in middle school and high school,
Right.
and if you're doing your PhD in nuclear physics. So you need to be able to find the right teachers at the right time. Uh,
So if I may double click on that a little bit, does that mean that you kind of have a certain tenure in mind that people would stay typically for, let's say, 2 or 3 years in a job, and then you're expecting them to move on?
so to answer your specific question on what's the ideal tenure, I think if people stop learning and they stop growing and having fun, then I think they should do something else. And
Mm-hmm.
I hold myself to that standard as well. If I stop learning and if I stop having fun doing what I'm doing, I'll go to my board and say, like, my time's up. But Rulin, think about it. Um, if the valuation, let's say, doubles, the number of customer double, the number of people double, your revenue triples in 1 year, your
Mm-hmm.
brain is not expanding 3 times over to be able to handle
Exactly.
that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you just need the right people to help you do that. Otherwise, uh, it's a downward spiral. You're still thinking like a 10 people company when you've grown to 100.
Yeah.
So you're always like, you want to be close to everything that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and then you become the bottleneck.
Mm-hmm. We've often talked to founders that almost their own brilliance becomes the bottleneck in a sense, right? Because they're so used to answering every question and countering every challenge. And then at some point in time, you start realizing I've actually been blocking the ability of my own team to answer questions for themselves. Is that something that rings a bell for you?
Yeah, absolutely. This is me about three odd years ago, uh,
Mm-hmm.
where so it creates multiple challenges. First is you become the bottleneck. Second
Mm-hmm.
is you hire the people but don't give the power to them to
Mm-hmm.
take the decisions. So then you continue that loop because now they're like, hey, no matter what I do, this guy comes and sort of supersedes everything that we say. So let's just go and ask him. So then it is a loop where you keep um, you keep clogging decisions. Um, that's when we got our COO from who he joined us um, about 4 years ago, and he changed some of the trajectory that we were doing. And the first thing he came and asked was Akshay came and asked was, hey, where are your OKRs? And then there's me Googling OKRs. So instead of now us going and bothering people about decisions that we need to take, we give them a broad overview of what they need to achieve, the objective, key results, and we also give them, the broad decisions they can take or they can't take. And that pretty much is, if you think this is right for SpotDraft, go ahead and do it. One framework that's worked for us is at a certain leadership level, if you come up with a problem, then you need to state the problem. You need to state your solution that you think is the right solution and why you think it's the right solution. So then people are not coming and saying, oh, you know what, support or customer success or marketing is not able to do this. They're not able to do this. Here is how I think it can improve. And this is why I think it's the right decision. Like if they spend 10 minutes analyzing it, the questions automatically become lesser.
Can you recall like some of the key breakthroughs that you guys went through that really leveled you up to the next level?
Yeah, I think from taking a more meta stance, there was a point where product was ahead and GTM was lagging, right? And GTM was trying to catch up to everything that we were building. Then there came a point where GTM went way ahead and product was trying to catch up. Like there was customer request, demand, newer things being asked, and product was still trying to catch up. And when you build things too fast, sometimes it breaks too. So all of that was being matched up. Now we've reached that point where GTM and product run hand to hand. And I think that is a wonderful wave to ride. The way you want to build product is not for revenue that's already been sold. You want to build product for revenue that's yet to be derived. Like you're thinking ahead of the market. And
Expanding
I think
the market, yeah.
Correct. And we're thinking through what's happening in 3 months, 6 months, though it's become a lot weirder with what's happening on the LLM front. But being in sync is I think great, where you hear what the customer is saying, what a prospect is saying, where the tickets are coming from, and you also know that what product, all of that has already been solved by product before.
Excellent. That sounds like you have your flywheel running, right? So what do you guys do inside the company to keep all those silos in sync, right? Because every department's growing, people start identifying more with their department and with the company at large at some point in time. How do you keep everyone in sync and working towards the common goal?
Yeah, I think it's not easy to do that. We struggled for it for a few quarters, but I think we got the right set of meetings, interlocks going. So there was information that was flowing through, whether it was company wide or internally. Then we built a bunch of tooling around how we gave information. Third is we made a lot of the questions or a lot of the problem solving self-serve. So we have our engineering team has built out a wonderful agent that that sits on top of our latest code base, and you can then ask a question, hey, the customer is asking, can we do this? And the answer is pretty much in real time based on rooted in code as opposed to somebody's response, right? So now the learning doesn't have to be on a meeting at any point. It can be asynchronous and on demand, and that's what is fun.
I love it. I was just going to ask you about agents because, of course, all these breakthrough AI operators are also building agents typically inside the company. Just to double check, out of your 300 employees, how many are agents and how many are humans?
Everybody is a human running at least a few agents by themselves.
Are you finding that you need to manage the company in a way, almost in a different way, or add some sophistication just because you have more of these agents around? That the way you share information, the way you share context, the way you maybe provide guidelines. Are there some learnings that we can take from you guys there?
Yeah, I think one thing is, the when you start, different people start using different tools, and then it becomes a disjointed madness, and people then put their own credit card and they could start using a platform, and that was our worry because we've got customer data lying out there.
Of course.
So very early on, the team decided on what the policy was, what they could use, what data they could put in, and we tried to consolidate into one single tool because that learning then was not just, um, a individual's learning, but it was collective learning of the team, and then setting up the right monitoring to make sure that all the PII, all the stuff that we're not supposed to share does not get shared. We also did a bunch of training around it.
Okay, very, very good. Okay, well, this all sounds super amazing, Shashank. At the last few minutes of the podcast, I always like to delve a little bit into the person behind the company, if that's okay with you. Tell us a little bit more about where you grew up. What was your childhood, your teenage years like, and was there something predicting that you would always be this successful lawyer and founder when you grew up?
Well, I don't know if there was so I was always the guy who wanted to understand the why behind everything. But then the answer always was, well, this isn't the best way to do it. So that was one. But my parents both did jobs, and for me, I thought that I was always curious. Like they work so hard, but they always get paid the same amount. Is there a way that you can make more money if
Mm,
you worked harder? Um, that kind of got me into where I think is entrepreneurship is just that anti-incumbency factor more than anything else.
mm,
Um, both of them were bankers, and I was blessed to have a um, you know very independent and very well thought of childhood. I grew up around books. Grew up around a lot of music and a lot of culture. When people start up, having the support of the family is the
hmm
most important thing. They're early investors, the earliest investors. They need to be sure that they're okay with you missing family functions and being on a laptop when everybody else is at the barbecue, and for forgiving you for these selfish desires and routines of yours, and they should be okay with it. So
So
um,
it's like
having that.
your parents, your brothers, sisters, your wife, maybe it's or husband at some point in time, your children even that are like really truly your earliest investors and
That's
pull you
correct.
through the hard times, right?
Correct. Correct.
That's a very good thing to almost finish the podcast on, Shashank. You already gave some advice to the hypothetical founder coming behind you, but asking again, what would be the one thing you would want to impart on every founder that's maybe just around early product market fit and looking to grow the company as much as you did?
So as much as you focus on product, also please focus on go to market. And they need to go hand in hand. One can't be ahead of the other. So that's one. And second is hang in there. Um, have faith in yourself. You've already done the tough job of leaving whatever you were doing to build what you want to do. It takes a little bit of perseverance to just cross the chasm, as they like to call it.
A little bit of perseverance. Well, that's the understatement of the year, I would say, right? But still much appreciate that. Thank you so much, Shashank. Where people want to learn more about SpotDraft, where should they go? Is there something specific they should download or ask for?
Yeah, so we're on spotdraft.com, spotdraft.com. And I am on LinkedIn. I personally look at and respond to all the messages, so please feel free to reach out to me if they want.
Perfect. Okay. And of course, people who know me already don't know Shashank yet and like to get in touch. I'm happy to always provide an introduction. Shashank, this has been
Thank you.
amazing. Shashank Bijapur, the CEO and founder of SpotDraft. And the audience, please, let's all thank Shashank together for coming. And of course, next week we'll have another breakthrough AI operator on the podcast. Maybe not quite as amazing as Shashank, but still, we'll do our best. So please
Uh,
stay tuned.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you for being such an amazing host and for asking all the easy questions like we decided.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Thank you, Shashank.